And welcome back, everybody. Yes, right on time for some of us. And then we've got daylight savings time in other parts of the world. So if you thought we were an hour earlier or an hour later, I don't know what's going on with the time, who's going when to what kind of time. So this is the time where I'm at, that I come on every single Tuesday, with the exception, of course, of last Tuesday, which, as you all remember, was International Women's Day. Huh? But now we are here, we are ready, and I hope you have your notebook. I have mine, because today I have the honor and the privilege and the fun to bring somebody to you as my guest who I have been working with, who is just stellar in what she does, and she is always motivated to help more. You might wonder what that means. However, don't wonder. Just help me welcome Helen Vandenberghe. And I hope I pronounced that correctly.
You did a great job, Dr. Natalie. That's absolutely amazing. So welcome, everybody. So lovely to see you. As you can probably tell by the accent, I'm over here in the UK. So you've got a very European feel today to this show.
And I wonder, since you're saying European feel, is it cloudy where you're at? Because it's like really cloudy where I'm at today.
No, we've got all the sunshine.
Okay, you stole it. We had it all weekend long, and now it's been gone. So. Well, Helen, I'd like, on my show, as you know, I always like for my guests to introduce themselves, because I can read out bios. They all sound fantastic, but I always want people to get a real feel for you. So in a nutshell version, I'm going to give you a stage for a couple of minutes just to tell people a little bit about you. All right? It's all yours.
That's great. Well, welcome everybody, and hello to everyone I haven't met out there in internet land. So my name's Helen Vandenberghe, living here in the UK. Now, I started my first business at the age of 14, and it was definitely in response to, frankly, not having enough money. I had a beautiful upbringing with an absolute abundance of love and care. But I'm sure, like many people here, we didn't have so much cash at the time. My parents were blue collar workers. My mum did a cleaning job at night. She did a waitressing job in the day, and she hustled to get back, home to get us to school. And, about the age of 13, 14, I can remember waking up at 6 o'clock in the morning one day as mum put a key in the door, and hearing her sneaking down the stairs to see her counting out her money in little envelopes. And we had like pound coins there. Actually, it wasn't even pound coins then. This is back when it was all paper notes. And she also had the 50p coins, which were like her tips. And she literally had different envelopes of, this one was for the gas. This one was for the school, school uniform. This one for the fees. And it was amazing. I never felt that we were poor ever until I saw that moment where I realized, every birthday I would have some amazing gift. I would have the latest novelty thing that all kids wanted, and somehow she would pull that rabbit out of the hat. So at that age, I suddenly became aware, and I said to her, "What are you doing?" She says, "Oh, just managing the money." And it was just for me, it was heartbreaking in some ways, because I knew how hard she worked and could see that there was all these little buckets of money, these little envelopes. And it really made me see the difference that an extra pound, dollar, whatever, per week in a different envelope would make. And I thought, well, there must be something I can do. You know, she's got all these. The other thing that was very interesting, she had all these envelopes for stuff for the house and for us, nothing for her. And I think that's very, very common with women. We tend to put everyone else first. So at a very young age, I kind of got busy figuring out how could I bring some more income into the house. And I started a little village market, literally in like a community center. I just thought, you know what, I see these things in towns. There must be, you know, I could rent out the table. And rather than just having a table, I quickly figured out that people around the world, you know, who makes the money here? It's not the person selling jam on the table, it's the person selling the rental space. So at 14, I did my first business, and it really was pivotal for me, not only in my awareness of marketing, but also my ongoing passion of helping women become financially abundant. So my whole business, we are a company where we help, you know, we coach and mentor women around the world to get visible, get premium clients and get valued by the communities that they absolutely love, and to make a massive difference with their world. But for me, the heart of it is around helping women become financially independent with the gifts that they have. And that's what really drives me. So that's where I started. And I'm sure we'll talk later in the session about where we ended up. But ultimately, it's led me through, 4 or 5 businesses, you know, 3 businesses I built, grew and sold. One that was a complete disaster and nearly bankrupted me, and the businesses I have now, where we, like I say, mentor women around the world to make more impact and income with their gifts. So yeah, that's me.
Wow. I did not know actually that you started your first business with 14.
Yeah.
I had no idea. But I love how you shared the story from your mom, because it is so typical that is in our brains. You know, it's what you and I, we've talked about this, but it's what I call the hidden power of patterns, the subconscious mind. And that can drive us forward so much. You mentioned businesses. So now you have businesses. What type of businesses do you have? And do you solely focus on women with your businesses?
Well, what I'll say is I serve women and a few brave men. So we do allow a few guys into the play area. And of course, we completely welcome people who don't like to be labeled. You know, we have some really fabulous people who are, you know, are non-binary and, you know, don't like to be labeled. But I like to think of it as a feminine approach to business. That's what I mean, really. So it's not about excluding anyone. It's just really want to step away from, you know, the bro marketing and all that. But you know what? It does work, but it also leaves a pretty sour taste for most of us in our mouths. So yes, so I work with women around the world, and we basically have 2 main companies. So I've got Get Clients Fast, which is where we help people attract dream clients and make a really profitable business through getting visible. And then we have one of the other ways to get business visible is our publishing company, and that's Get Published Fast, where we help people grow a business from their business book, so they can really turn that idea, that thing that's been in the back of their head for years, into something that brings them clients. Now, and I know you have a few books under your belt and a new one coming out. So yes. Nat, maybe you could tell us about your new one around here.
Well, actually, it's yes, it is going to be about, well, it is finished. We're just in the publishing process, and it is about fear. So thank you for asking about that. And fear, you know, it actually started during the pandemic that I started writing it. And it just brings a lot of things together because, as you well know, there's a lot of fear in people. There's a lot of fear about stepping out. There's a lot of fear about running your own business. There's a lot of fear about selling. And now we had the pandemic and, of course, the situation in the Ukraine. So everybody feels a little bit of fear. And I think it depends on how we deal with it. Given your experience, 14, first business, were you at all afraid at that point?
Oh, I think that is the joy of youth, is that you're so kind of, let's just do it, you know. So I think at the early age, no, I think it's as we get older, we start getting, learning to conform more and realizing what rules are not supposed to be broken. So yeah, I think for me at that age, I was probably much freer than I am now. Now I have to really work to be brave.
Yeah. That is so true. That is so true. And it is, the social conditioning. So in your life, let's start there. Are there moments of fear, small fear, big fear, or situations where there is, I think you mentioned earlier, turbulences, where you're trying to figure out, where do I go? Are there situations like that still at your level?
Absolutely. And I think, and also at my age, I mean, I'm 50 now. So, with all those years under my belt, I think you still can tap into those fears. And I think it's actually a good barometer, because it actually really helps you identify your values and shows what you care about. So, so some of my fears or doubts or worries that I experience now is that, I care deeply for my clients. And if I can see something not going well for them, or maybe they're not able to perform the way they would love to, because maybe they've got a family situation going on. And, I'm always worried that it's like, oh my goodness, how are they going to cope? What is there? And I think, again, it's a very maternal, a very female kind of attribute. And then I think just on the global scale, there are lots of situations that are out of our control, particularly now. And I think it's interesting what's happening in Ukraine now, coming back to, it's very much reminds me of how many of my clients and my friends felt around the time of the start of the pandemic. There's almost that echo of this suddenly, whoa, the rug has been pulled from under our feet again, and there's a lot of uncertainty. So I think there are, global events that can make you feel fearful. But like I say, I think it is a great indicator of your values. And, and it's okay to be afraid. It's okay to acknowledge that. But it's also okay to do practical things to work through it. And actually, because in terms of, I mean, a lot of my clients sell high ticket stuff. And it's like they may be running thinking like, oh my goodness, we're going to have a recession. That, who on earth is going to pay my, I don't know, 20K premium program or my 50K service when, there's people being bombed in other places in the world. Now, the truth is, I think there's currently something like 47 wars going on around the globe. It's just this one for us is pretty close to home, and it's a superpower is involved. So it does have other ramifications, but things have been going on for a long time. Not to negate it at all. It definitely is going to create financial shifts, cultural shifts, economic shifts. But I always think there's also a lot we don't know. We do not know what's going to happen yet. And also my question is, I have had a couple of clients and business colleagues come to me and say, like, I feel really awkward putting myself out there when there's it's very much how we felt at the beginning of the pandemic. Is it okay for me to sell stuff when there's all this drama going on? And I mean, it's got to be a value judgment for yourself. But my question is, who is served if you allow your business to fail? If you withdraw? I think people need your help, whether you're a counselor, a therapist, a spiritual leader, or if, like me, you do something very simply. We basically teach people how to market and grow their business. There's no rocket science there. We have a very particular way of doing it. I'm not curing cancer, but I know the women in my community are served well if I show up. In fact, more than ever, people need leaders. And if you have an expertise, whether you're a coach, a counselor, a teacher, a lawyer, people are following you, whether you know it or not. They're watching. We're all looking for who's going to stay calm, who's going to stay grounded here. So I think now is the time, and it's not about being mercenary and capitalizing on world catastrophes, but it's now more than ever to stand your ground and know that people are going to have an amped up sense of anxiety, and that now is the time to really get your gifts out to the world, really stand in your power and know that you can serve much more powerfully than ever, because people are going to need it. Because let's say you help people with, I don't know, diabetes, then yeah, they've already got that worry, and now they've got a whole load of other worries in the background as well, possibly, So I think it's the time to be aware of those fears and to actually step into your power and really be of service right now. And frankly, if you do well in your business, I know when women do well, they do good. Almost everyone we have a charitable arm. 10% of my business profits go into 3 key charities. And it doesn't matter whether you're giving $1 a week or thousands of pounds, it doesn't matter. You can think about what's your contribution, or you can, other people do pro bono sessions. There's a lot you can do there. Anyway, I'm off on a rant, so stop me now, Nat.
No, it's fascinating, because I think there is, especially when we're talking about the feminine energy and sort of like the feminine way in which we connect more, in which we try to serve more, nurture more. There is the question, absolutely, and you hit the nail on the head. That's what it's called. I'm thinking German here. You know, do we really, is it okay when I see others suffering just across the border? Is it okay for me to do a launch, to sell a high ticket item and expect somebody to pay for it? It is that inner fear. And I think it sometimes, especially in Europe right now, I think it gets stoked by the personal experiences. So with the pandemic, everybody was impacted. And even now, everybody is impacted. And yet, I know you have a mom, I have a mom, and they lived either during World War II or grew up during the Cold War. So their anxiety level is, I think, on a different scale than ours. And that's in the personal life. So while we might be willing to say, I want to still sell my tickets, I still want to have the income so that I can give more, which is really the idea of I welcome the money so I can serve more. But then on the personal front, how do we deal with people in our lives who are anxiety driven? How do we lead there, in your opinion?
Yeah, and I think what's interesting, my mum met somebody you'll know, Wendy Yannery. We got 2 mums together, and they hadn't met before because we knew both of them were quite isolated. This was even before the pandemic. And we got them together, and afterwards I was chatting to my mum, and basically they'd had a great time together, and it's like daughters and mums, similar ages. And my friend was saying to my mum, I worry so much for my mum. She's getting older. She's she's a little bit more frail, and she's been ill. And but I don't feel I can tell her what to do with her healthcare or whatever. And my mum just said, sometimes you've got to let a mum be a mum. And I think with our elder relatives and friends, I think we've got to elevate them. They are wise people. They are wise women, wise men. They are wise people. They have been around a long time. And though they might not be able to get on the latest gadget or figure out the internet or whatever, they've got decades of experience. And I think sometimes giving someone a role or enabling them to have a role to help, whether it's helping you, for me, my mum's got plenty to worry about. But if I pick up the phone, and even if I say like, oh, mum, my client's launched bombs and I'm really worried for her.
Right.
She's not on the internet, but she will be able to support me. And that gives her a role and a distraction, I think. So I think for, perhaps for elder care relatives, there's something there about perhaps, we don't have to tiptoe around them. In fact, asking them what they can do and how they can help and what they think. Because they've seen it all before and they've got, many years experience. So I think that's something we can do.
Yeah, giving them a role. So how important is support? I mean, you've been talking about, leadership and stepping up, and I couldn't agree more. I just had this download that I shared also earlier today about you being the conductor of your own life and figuring out the instruments and, going up there and just making the music yourself. So how about support? So you mentioned your mom. Where do you get support from, and how important is support in general, but also for women? Because you work, of course, mostly with women. How important is that?
Yeah, I think it's incredibly powerful and incredibly important. We tend to be brilliant at giving it to other people and
Mhm.
not so good at taking it for ourselves or receiving it. So I think it is something you have to like literally schedule in, like a self-care practice.
Mhm.
So, I mean, for me, support looks like, so there's my uh, sort of academic and business support, which would be mentors, reading, being parts of
Mhm.
communities like this, being involved with, having my own coaches and mentors. So there's that. But then there's also just like I have dog walking friends that have no clue what I do. And, I couldn't, they couldn't describe my business if you asked them to, but we have a great time. Actually, it's brilliant for me to be able to switch off and talk about nothing but dogs,
Yes.
or their
Cats.
kids or whatever, so dogs, cats, kids, whatever floats your boat. So I think having a diversity of different
Mhm.
ranges of support, and for me, I literally book those things in a calendar. So usually Fridays, I typically work a half day if possible, and I'll normally either go out to lunch with a friend or book a dog walk. And of course, now it's just such a joy to be able to do those things following various lockdowns,
Right.
and they're still really important to me. So I think there's different elements, and then there's your inner work, and I know you're just a master at this, Natalie. That the realizing what is the support you need to give yourself,
Mhm.
which could be anything from. So I love things like yoga nidra, and
Mhm.
or sorry, nidra, I tend to do in the middle of the day, which if you haven't done it, guys, it's basically napping. It's like a body relaxation. Just look on YouTube. There's some amazing little sessions there. And the idea is it gives you 4 hours of the equivalent of 4 hours sleep in about
Mhm.
20 to 40 minutes. Now, I frankly have never experienced that, but I do, there's the dog, I do quite enjoy lying down for 20 minutes in the middle of the day. So it might be something like that. I also have, during the pandemic, again, these gifts that I didn't expect. There's another type of yoga, yin yoga or restorative yoga,
Mhm.
which we do online, which I book in on a Monday night at like 6 o'clock. And that gives me
Mhm.
a hard finish. That means I have to be in my workout gear, have to be off the
Right.
computer and doing something else. So I think those self-care things, and then of course the inner work, meditation,
Mhm.
affirmations, if that works for you. I mean, there's so many different, mindfulness, so many different practices. So I think it is important, and it's often one of the first things to go when we start
Mhm.
panicking. It's either, oh my goodness, I've got to hustle and get the next, batch of clients in, or I've got to do more at my job, or my job might be under threat. When we
Mhm.
start putting all our focus in one area, what we often miss out is on that self-care. So, I think support's absolutely vital.
And then I love that you mentioned, so you sort of mentioned on a side note, but still made it important, having your own coaches, having your own mentors, maybe having, a coach for your personal side, then
Mm,
having one for the business. I think that is so important. And when you said that, I was reminded of one of my clients who does not want to be announced publicly because of the work that she does.
mhm.
But she said, she always says something similar, this is the first time I have a coach, but it is so crucial. It helps me focus. It
Yes.
helps me make time for myself. And that's pretty much what you're saying, the time for self. And yeah, I don't do yoga nidra, but I meditate like
Yeah.
throughout the day, first thing in the morning and then during the day as well, even if it's just
Mm,
5 minutes.
yeah.
And I was having a conversation with a nutritionist the other day, and she said, you don't really sleep enough. 5 hours is not enough, but you do enough
Yeah.
of the meditation so it fills it up. So that was kind of good to know.
Yeah.
The other thing that you mentioned was, and you said this earlier, so I want to dive a little bit into the business part. I see a lot of, I guess we call them low ticket offers,
Mm,
especially when the fear, when the panic
mm,
strikes, all of a sudden, and we saw that during the pandemic, everything was free.
yeah.
So you offer free stuff, 200 people sign up, nobody shows. And then,
Mm,
okay, I do want to sell something because, my business shouldn't fail. So I'm going to offer something for $49
mm,
or 49, whatever. So people tend to go more for the low ticket prices,
mhm.
especially when they're panicked.
Yeah.
You're taking a different spin on it. So I'm going to give you the floor again, just a few minutes, to explain why that is so important.
Yeah, and I think, first of all, I think you've got to have value. Whatever you do, you in your heart have got to know that you're delivering value. So, if you are, what my experience is most women are undercharging and massively over delivering. So obviously we'll talk later maybe about some of the inner work you can do to help with that. But for me, I think just from a business point of view, it's much easier to hit your income goals with offers that are 1,000, 3,000, 5,000 than the $27, $99. Now, what is interesting is those things are fine as long as you know they are marketing, not sales. So if you want to build your list, so what you'll see with a lot of online advertising, we see this all the time, and there's nothing wrong with this. Get this thing for, and we do it in the book business, get this book for $7 or $5. And then there'll be an upsell to perhaps getting the audio book and a mini course with it, and then getting the, next some other offer. The idea of that, now I love that because, and it works really well in publishing, because what you've got then is a list of buyers, not freebie seekers. They have actually given you their credit card, even if it's just for $5, $10 for your book. They then have, especially if you have an audio book as well, they have an experience of being with you for probably several hours, which is kind of the same as doing a launch. You're trying to get many, many touch points over a period of time. But what we found is that about 20% will take the highest offer, which might be $50 to $100, which is still incredibly low ticket. And that will pay for your advertising. So there is a place for low ticket if you use it strategically, and it's marketing. But if you are trying to build, say, a membership or a low end course business at $27 to $37 or $97, seriously, guys, we're talking about 1% conversion rates. So to sell one item, you have to have 100 engaged people who have signed up for it, not just 100 people on your list, 100 people who have signed up for that one thing, which means you're probably looking at more like 1,000 contact points to get that one person. So for me, the maths just make much more sense to use some of that low ticket stuff if you want to as part of your marketing. But I kind of like two prices, premium or free, premium or free. So I encourage my clients to, let's find your best work. Now, it doesn't mean you can't offer payment plans and make it affordable for people. Let's offer your best work. And what if this year we just got you 10 clients and they all paid you 10K? That's completely doable. And that's a much easier business to run. But to maybe get there, you might want to do either some organic launches or some marketing, or you could use a low end funnel. But it's about being very clear that those low end offers, whether it's a book or a workshop, they are funding your advertising spend so as you can reach those 1,000 people to get the people into your funnel. So, yeah, that's my take on it, because I think we all think it's going to be so much easier. I've done it. When I started, I used to try and sell courses for like £57, £99.
Right.
And you'd end up, if you're lucky, selling 3, and then you've got to work for 8 weeks and you're thinking, that's okay, I've created it now, I'll sell it again. Thinking, oh, if I just get 100 people, that's the thing, like just get 100 people into your membership, just get 100 people into your course. Mm-hmm. Have you any idea what it takes, the size of audience you need? Now, if you're Oprah, fabulous. You can probably put anything out there. She's got such mojo. She's got such clout in the world that we would buy anything. I would pay anything to work with her. I would buy anything at almost any price. Yeah. But I'm not Oprah. Most people are not Oprah. So I think it's just being realistic about what it takes. So, yeah. And I think there is probably some uncomfortable feeling in this current market. It was exactly the same with the pandemic. Yeah. So like, oh my goodness, some people are losing my jobs. In, like, let's say you're a career coach, you might be thinking, who's going to hire me when there's, all this uncertainty around, job, sustainability. And yet I would say what we need to figure out, and you need to be completely congruent about this. This isn't about pulling the wool over anyone's eyes, but you need to find why your service, or is there a service you could offer right now that is needed more than ever now? So I have hand on heart, I know that people more than ever need to find ways of scaling their business, attracting clients, and getting their messaging so correct, that so on point, that it's almost magnetic to people now more than ever. Because who gets served if you let your business fail, as I said earlier.
Right.
So yeah, for me, I think it's about flipping it on its head and thinking, well, why is now the time that your service should be out in the world? But on the flip side, I think it's perfectly okay to look at other options, because there's some other stuff going on in the world. So if you look at how the market shifted in the last 2 years, we have all spent our entire life on Zoom. And in many countries, we are now able to leave and go and get about our. So, people might sign up for your event, or, sign up for your masterclass or whatever. But that was really exciting to them when they were in their pajamas at home. And what's more exciting is going for an ice cream or a coffee with their friends.
Yeah.
And I think we have to be realistic that the online world is shifting. And that's why I like hybrid events. And that, we may need to work a little harder to get people's engagement. And what I've found is people are really enjoying. Some people like to book ahead and have those things in the diary. But I'm finding last minute sign up things are really powerful. So, really promoting whatever thing you're doing at the last minute very heavily, because people go, oh, I'm online now. Oh, she's gone live. Right. Let's go and let's see that. So I think there's a lot going on, but I definitely think there's a range. And frankly, now is the time for ultra premium offers, because people, whilst the general population, everyone's going to be impacted by raising fuel prices, raising, day-to-day costs. However, there is a huge group of people that are not really going to be affected by this at all. Now, it doesn't mean they're running around throwing their money around, but seriously, if there was one time to have at least one super high-end offer in your business, then now is it, because those people are looking for convenience and speed. I buy things because, and I do not want to go and learn it myself. I want someone to come here and do it for me. So in the pandemic, I had, an online person who would, at my convenience, get on Zoom, get it with me. And the minute that we were allowed to go to teach me some of these exercise sessions, the minute we were allowed to be in person, I had around here sorting out my pantry, sorting out my kitchen.
Right.
I think the high-end buyers they're not looking at how much is this costing me per hour, how much is this compared to that. They want convenience and speed. But on the flip side, if you want to go mass market, you've just got to be prepared. You've got to build the audience. You've got to have enough people. So you might want to have some options. Let's say like we have a year-long mastermind. You could turn that into a product if you wanted to. You could turn that into, strip out all the coaching and just have it as a self-study course and do that for 2,000 or 3,000 rather than 15,000. That would be a way where you could hedge your bets if you were, without creating any more work for yourself. So I think it's about being agile right now, but there is definitely an opportunity to serve the people who have got the money and frankly want their problem solved. And then if you are in a mid or lower market, then I think you've got to be smart about how you offer what you do.
I'm going to stop you here for a second, because you've given so many nuggets, and I took some notes to go back to, and I hope everybody else in the audience, they're quiet today, which tells me they're taking notes. Normally I got a bunch of comments, but I think they're quiet taking notes. You said a number of things. You gave away some very good tips that I want to get back to in just a moment, but we're going to take about a 30-second break here, and then we will be right back. So everybody stay tuned.
Welcome to the Los Angeles Tribune page. Here you will find original news programming, exclusive digital events, and shows that are directly from the community. At the Los Angeles Tribune, we believe in giving a voice to the voiceless. We are proud to be the only national brand to empower everyday people to make a difference. Since 1886, our reputation has been built on truth and responsibility. Thank you for watching and making a difference.
For general inquiries, contact today. Thank you on behalf of the Los Angeles Tribune team.
And And on that note, I just want to advise everybody that we have a number of shows here on the Los Angeles Tribune, whether it is Rex Sykes, whether it's Ignite, whether it's Jeremy, the storytelling alchemist. So stay tuned for that. I also want to invite anybody who has just been paying very, very close attention to what Helen has been talking about. She does actually talk about get premium clients fast. And as she mentioned, she does care a lot about her clients and who she works with. So keep that in mind, as I also want to invite you to my group on Facebook, which is the group actually that is very simple, called Be Your Conductor. Because it is time, as Helen was also saying, to take back control and to really serve the best way you can. And for that, we do need to do a little bit of inner work as well as step out there. We can't do that if we're living somebody else's life, or if we're not completely fulfilled, or if we don't know the values that Helen also has been talking about, the values that guide us. And so, Helen, before the break, you were a couple of times saying, now more than ever. And for some people, of course, that's a trigger. We know that because of everything that is going on. So why do you think now more than ever versus wait a couple of months or the time has passed? A number of people are saying time has passed for selling high ticket price services or just for even starting a business. Why do you think now more than ever?
Well, I think if the pandemic has taught us anything, it's that we don't know how much time we've got. It's like, I think if you know your life's mission, or even if you have an inkling of that, I want to serve the world in this way, why would you wait? Now, of course, there are lots of reasons why we wait, right, because there's all this fear going on, and that's perfectly sensible. Our brain is just trying to protect us. But if you were advising a best friend and they were saying, you know, God, I've got this dream, I really want to get out and help this kind of community. And, you know, this could be a social enterprise as well. You know, we have, I have organizations that, you know, run a business, but it's a not-profit, or it's a, you know, it's a social enterprise where it's funding to either through its main offers and programs directly help a particular community, or to give charitable donations or time and resources. But I think for your own sanity, we do not know how much time we've got. So what could you do this week, this year, that moves you, you know, a step forward, or makes you, and I mean, Natalie, you help people with quantum leaps. And I love that what you could achieve in 3 or 6 months isn't often what people would have put off for 5 years. So I think there's that sense of, yeah, things are precarious, and frankly, they're going to keep changing. Yeah. And what do they say? The only thing constant in life is change. And
always,
I think that's our journey. It's actually being a leader, being yourself. And when I say leader, I'm not talking about, you don't have to be outgoing and online everywhere. A leader in your family, a leader in your home, a leader in your community, standing up for the things that are important to you. But if you know, if not now, when is, you know, part of it. But also, I think our journey is learning to navigate through turbulent times, and learning to, how can you stay focused and calm? And you learn that by running through the fire. You don't learn it in a textbook. You know, all of us that, like, when I can remember as a 21-year-old doing all these meditation courses and thinking, oh, this is so easy. Well, frankly, I had no worries at all, did I? I wasn't really dealing with anything particularly stressful at that age. And that was just me. I'm not saying that all people at that age are, you know, have an easy life by any means. But it is, now is the time, because one, we don't know how much time we've got. Two, on a more positive note, you can do so much good. You can do so much good. Even just by being the person who steps up, who makes, maybe you make a post, you write a heartfelt bit of advice, and one person reads it, the ripple effect of that is phenomenal. Now, if you get structured about that and actually turning into a business or a social enterprise, and are systematic about, okay, this is the message I want to get out in the world, and this is how I help people, then the impact can be phenomenal. So I think it is really important. But I think the journey is, yeah, it's a shame. You know, we would have all loved it if it was like 4 years ago and Facebook ads were really cheap, and, you know, Everyone thought Zoom was a novelty. That was a little golden period where we had no idea how lucky we are. And I think we have to try and be in that mind now. We have no idea how lucky we are. We might face a week where the internet goes down. How are you going to run your business and your life then? We might face a week where there's, shortages again. We're already here. People are starting to buy and feel like crazy because of the fear factor. So what I think we have to do is, like, we have got so many resources. You can, for absolutely free, go and reach your ideal communities on the internet. And we can do it in person now. You could set up a little meetup. You could set up a little conference, a little meeting in your hometown in a coffee shop. And places would be delighted to host you. So I think, I think we can look back and, I would have loved to have been an adult in the 1930s. I always thought I was born in the wrong era. I would have loved to have been coming out of the Great Depression and, all the little dances and all that fun.
Right.
There's no point me longing for something that's just not going to happen. And it's just as crazy to go, I wish it was like, business was easier 2 years ago. Or I would do it if I had it's like, we have so many opportunities here. Look at us. We're on different countries. We're reaching people all over the globe. The opportunities are endless. You can run a business literally from your iPhone. So, or other products are available, whatever phone you've got.
Yeah.
So you can. So I think now is the time, but it doesn't make it easy. It doesn't mean you're not going to go through struggles. And it doesn't mean that other people, there's always going to be unfairness. Some people will have an unfair advantage. Some people got in the market earlier, but it's like, there is so much opportunity. And if we can get into that mindset of abundance, of there's always more money, there's always more people to serve, there's always more opportunity. And that, you may have to do some inner work to get there.
Right. Well, let's talk about that for a second, because you're talking about the abundance and we're talking about the fear and sometimes the wishful thinking. And then we talk about the law of attraction and it doesn't seem to work all the time. So one of the things that I know you wanted to share with the audience is, of course, the fact that you would love for them to get your gift. And your gift is about charging what you're worth. So how do you know what you're worth if you can't figure anything else out? If you're afraid to step up, or if you're remembering not having any money when you were small, how do you find out what you're worth?
Yeah. And this is how most people, they figure out their pricing is they'll ask their friends and family, who are usually not their ideal customer. So I can always remember when I very first trained with Coach Youre. I don't know if any of you remember the amazing, late Thomas Leonard. I trained with him in the very first year that Coach Youre happened. And I told my sister I was going to become a coach. And at that point, it was a life coach, because that's kind of all they trained in at that time. And she literally went like, seriously, people are going to pay you to talk to them on the phone? Because then it was like this. And for years, she could never get her head around it. And as I did, I asked her, like, well, what should I charge? And she just really was like, well, I don't know, £5. She couldn't figure out. And the thing is, she was not my ideal client. So much as your family and friends can be amazing supporters for you, they're not your test marketing crew. They're not the people to go and ask. But that's what most of us do. And then the next thing we do is we'll go and have a look on web and look at what other people are charging. And the truth is, many people don't put their rates on their website. And often those that do are in this kind of price war market. So you're then, you're basing a really important business decision on someone else's sense of their own worth. It's like, 5 other coaches are charging this, so I'll charge that. It's got nothing to do with that. So I always say, you want to start with what is the value of the results that you get for someone, and really working deeply on that. So lifetime value. So if you help someone who is obese to get control of their diabetes and to change their eating habits or their exercise habit or medication, however you do it, and what is the lifetime impact of that? And of course, you can look at the financial impact, which might be reduced healthcare bills, reduced medical costs. But what about the other effects. They are literally going to get years of life back because of you. What is that worth? They are going to, I know certainly one of our clients helps people with chronic pain. And she literally says, some of my patients have never been able to bend down and pick up their grandchildren, and now they're running around with them. That's priceless. And I think touching into like, what is the ripple effect of the work you do? And then the truth is, you're probably not going to start at the super premium end. If you have some money blocks around this, you've got to go inwards. And, the gift I'd love to give you all, ladies, is my pricing worksheet and my Charge Your Worth playbook. And you can just look at it at getyourgift.co.uk, and it'll take you through some exercises. And also for those of you in a business already, it'll give you a price increase script, because often where we have to start is with our current clients. So if you've got some clients and or some free, pro bono people, and you're undercharging, those are probably the first people you should be working with, rather than like desperately trying to find a new audience that don't know and trust you and trying to sell something big to them. You've already got people who trust you and are getting results. So the easiest step is to start with that. But you're absolutely right, Nat. We tend to base our pricing on what other people are doing. But, in every market, there's a budget end and there's a premium end. And there's lots of shades of grey in the middle. So you might not want to start or be able to start on the premium, but you could start midway. Just be mindful. This is a business decision, and your business will eat you alive if you let it. And if you start at the very, very low end, over-delivering, undercharging, you are just going to hit burnout much quicker.
Let's talk about the other word that you love to use, and that's over-delivering. I'm a big proponent of that. I believe, seriously, I do that all the time. I know you do that too, because you're always trying to give answers. You're doing the research if you don't have an answer, and you just, through the first half hour, also were able to provide data, really basic business ideas on, well, if you want to do 1% conversion, or if that's all you got, then this is how many people you need. So you do the work, you over deliver. Why do you think, and this is something you said earlier, most women particularly over deliver? What is that?
I think it's in our, it's that nurture. It's what we're rewarded for, isn't it? It's being kind to others. What was that nursery rhyme, little girls are all like sugar and spice, and I can't remember the entire thing, but it's basically be kind, be nice, be a good girl. Now, I like to think of, what if you made generosity your superpower? So rather than letting it harm you, because it's fine to over deliver if you do it strategically. Right. And if you charge enough, I want you well paid, well compensated for what you do. But I don't randomly I occasionally will go, oh, I've seen this amazing thing for client X. Let me just text them about it. That is that's 10 seconds of my time. That, for me, that is no hardship at all, Whereas what I'm not doing is I'm going to give everybody, 4 hours personal one-to-one time because I feel guilty because they were ill the week we did that, So I think there's something around being strategic about it. So what you want to do is create your offers so as you have your core offer that is robust on its own. And also, I think it's really important you have something that is fairly scalable, even if you're working one-on-one, that that this is the maximum clients you have. So if you are working one-on-one, I think you've really got to be premium, unless you have other forms of income, right. To make a full-time income at your business, you've got to be at the mid to high end. But if you have your core offer, and then I want to say, what is easy for you to bonus or gift in people? And what I like to do is constantly surprise and delight my clients, is I will have planned additional training. So if I create a little workshop for them, or an entire week's workshop, that would have been planned in. I didn't just randomly think, oh, I'm going to do this because I've got 10 hours to kill this week. It would be, and that will be something they will get first, but I will later turn into a product, or I will leverage in some other way. Other things you could do is bring in partners. So if you're, let's say you're a color, a nutritionist, maybe you could, and someone's working on their weight loss, maybe you partner with a stylist. And many people will rock up and give a session to your clients for free because they know they're planting a little seed of reciprocity. So you could have all these amazing guests serving your clients in some way without it costing you anything, or with maybe just a small fee, where they get a better service, they get the option to experience other people, and it up levels your service. So I think we do it naturally because of our upbringing. And I think it can either be a rod for your back, where you feel guilty about what your client's doing, or you feel guilty about underserving, or you can go, no, actually, I want to make sure X, Y, Z happens kind of systematically. That there are little surprises for them, but actually you've thought them in. And then when you've got the bandwidth, I'm very fortunate that I do have enough capacity in my weeks that there will be days where I can like, oh, I just think I could do something like this. And it's just being smart. So one of our clients had a question yesterday, and she messaged me privately, and I just thought everyone else can benefit from this, so I'll do a video, and that becomes content, that will help everyone. So I think it's just a lot of cultural upbringing, really. That's what it is. And let's use that, make it a superpower.
You care. Now here is sort of like a twist to everything we've talked about, because we've talked about fear, we talked about leadership, charging what you're worth, figuring out what you're worth. There are a lot of coaches out there. There are a lot of business growth coaches out there, a lot of life coaches, a lot of people who do what you do, a lot of people who do what I do. So if we're charging high prices because we know the value, the lifetime value that we're providing, do we run into the fear of some of our potential clients or customers or mentees that they've been burned too many times? They have paid thousands and thousands, and they got a prepackaged deal, or they were told they were going to work with X, and in the end, nobody over-delivered, everybody under-delivered, and it was just a funnel. Buy this, then buy this, then buy this, then buy this. How do we deal with that experience of our potential mentees?
And that, you're absolutely right. I've had that experience, and I literally have spent tens of thousands on a service. It was supposed to be coaching, a mastermind, and done for you. And it wasn't just done badly. It was absolutely a ripoff. It was illegal, and they broke every contract. And me and the other ladies in the group were all basically had to go down a legal process to get at least some of our money back. And yet I still now have 4 coaches and 2 masterminds and 2 private coaches. So I think those things are scarring, particularly if they've damaged you financially. And it's part of our journey. Firstly, I think you are not responsible for your potential client's past journey. And some people will never be ready to do it again. I think that will damage some people so much. I mean, I literally went to therapy after that experience. I literally got clinical support. It was so damaging to me. And, so I think some people will be so scarred by those things. Some people also just say that to say a very polite no. And what that means is your message isn't connecting for them. And so my sense is always, to be honest, Nat, if you have to drag them in, if I have to convince someone to work with me, I'll have to drag them around, because there'll always be this inequality of them always being worried and you perhaps feeling hard done by, even though you're giving them all. And then you get this kind of horrible codependent relationship. So I think it's okay for you to allow those people to heal in their own time. And maybe, high ticket is definitely not for everyone. It's for the 20% and that's why you may well have a medium and a lower ticket version. We have dozens and dozens of offers that are completely free. We give hours and hours of training all over the internet that is free. And we also do have some lower ticket offers. But my sense is it really doesn't matter what price point it is. There's always going to be someone who says, I don't like it, I can't afford it. In England, we have this little, it's called Marmite, and it's like a spread that you put on toast, and it's also can be made into gravy. There's also Bovril or Vegemite or something like that. But the English version called Marmite had a branding, and it says, love it or hate it, Marmite. And it is, people are like that. You love it or you hate it. And it's only like $3. It is incredibly inexpensive. But there's no way on God's earth my sister is ever going to buy Marmite, whereas I will have it all day. So me trying to convince her how brilliant it is, it's just not my client. So I think it's really good to acknowledge that that people, you know, have their own journeys to go on. And some people will have had bad experiences, but it's not your, unless you are a therapist to deal with that. It's not your job to heal them from that, to convince them to buy your stuff. Some of those people, they're just not ready for it. And whether you offered them it at $5K, $1K, $99, they possibly would never buy anyway. I think just moving into that, who is your ideal client? What is the position they're in right now that makes that they are most likely to be willing to invest that amount and see it as value?
Yeah. And it's funny because, I mean, I've had plenty of coaches too, and half of them were like, what are we doing? I might have gotten a nice flower, but at the end of the term, I was still doing the same thing I was doing before. So how do you find, this is sort of like the last major question, how do you find the right coach for you? Let's just, you know, think about people in the audience. They're either coaches or they're looking for a coach or they're just into self-development. How, in your opinion, do you find the right coach for you? Because you're in 2 masterminds and you have 2 coaches. How do you find them? What is the trick to find the right one?
I think you do have to kiss a lot of frogs sometimes. And I think you should be fine about trying people out and trying things on for size. But to be honest, I think you need to write down what is it you're looking for? What is the support you want, and get really clear. Because if you are a typical entrepreneur, you're probably inspired and engaged by bright, shiny objects. So somebody talking about the latest launch model for me will probably excite me, or somebody talking about how to grow your team with less effort. Those are all triggers I know I'm interested in. So, but actually, do I need all that right now? Probably not. So I think being absolutely clear on what you want, and then the level of contact you want, and the things you want to learn. What is the state you want to be in, you know, at the end of your time with them, or after a specific time? So I look at it as quite, rather than just waiting for things to randomly come across the internet, it's a business decision. It's a personal decision. Be strategic, as if you were purchasing, you know, a computer or something. And then look for the magic. Then I think it is about the connection. I think there's a lot to be said for working with someone you trust and admire or value. So I think it is. Follow their work for a period of time and see what does it resonate with you.
Right. Yeah, try them out. I mean, most coaches do offer like a 15-minute free session and see if the magic happens or not. Or like you mentioned, you know, free programs on the internet. Awesome. So you have the Get Your Gift, which is charging your worth. You mentioned a little bit about it. And we have about 2.5 minutes. So I'm going to turn it over one more time to you to share anything else you'd like to leave the audience with, whether it's about leadership through turbulent times, whether it's about finding your worth. It's all yours.
That's so kind. So I think, ladies and brave men that are here today, I just would love for you to stay grounded. The world's a little bit of a crazy place again. Do not underestimate the power you have by just managing your state. So whenever you feel a little bit of a wobble, you're trying to make a courageous decision or thinking about what to do, just come back to you. So whether that's breath work, which is just a fancy way of saying, you know, breathe slowly and calmly. There's lots of techniques, but literally breathe slowly and calmly. And then when you're getting distracted by worries and concerns, you know, I love, you know, don't just think it, ink it, write it down. And then you might want to do like the process of something like, is this thought true? Do I know that it's true? And then what can I do about it? What's my next step? What's one thing I can do? You have an immense power. I would love to, for anyone that's interested, I would love to support you on your entrepreneurial journey or your book publishing journey. So do come along to getyourgift.co.uk and find out more about how to get your work out there. But whilst you're doing that, yeah, take some time for you. Just stay grounded, stay focused, stay calm. You are a leader and people are watching you, and we need our leaders to step up right now. And that just means being you. You don't have to do anything fancy, just be yourself.
Oh, I love that. Be you. That reminds me of my book. Yay! Nice segue. Thank you so much, Helen. I want to just support everything that you said. You know, it is about being ourselves and stepping up, stepping forward, and realizing through very often a lot of inner work what we are worth and what we're actually giving to the world. Thank you so much for your time, Helen. Everybody, you've seen the link. You can also go to Get Clients Fast with Helen. Facebook, particularly big group there. Check out the gift, figure out what you're worth. And I shall see you all next time, which is next Tuesday. Thank you so much, Helen.
You're very welcome. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye for now. Bye.